for example, right, basketball, the roster, you only have 15 guys in your roster, right? There's only 450 active players in the league, and and you only have like really just a handful of like superstar players, right? And you sign them to long contracts, and because the roster size is so small and people's careers can be so long, like it's almost in your best interest to kind of cater to that star player, and that therefore they can kind of say whatever the hell they want. But then, and MLB too, right? It's like, guys getting crazy, long contracts, like Mookie's getting 13 years, right? But all this to say that like it depends on like the individual impact, right? So in basketball, one player can change the whole dynamic of the game, right? Can change the whole team, right? In baseball, because your roster is so large and depending on what position you play, one player's impact may not be as big on the game as you would think, right? So you can have a Mookie Betts, right? Or you can have like a great pitcher, like a Scherzer or DeGrom, right? And they'll have their impact on the game, but like because it's only one person in a large roster, and sometimes they don't play every day, their impact isn't as felt as much. So maybe you get like organizations are willing to have a little less leeway on those players, right? But in football, right, I think football players get way less leeways because one, a lot of players are pretty replaceable. A lot of players' careers are actually really short, right? So you'd have to be a player like a Tom Brady, right? Like a star quarterback to be able to get that leeway because you have so much control over a game. But if you're just like some like second string running back or like some like defensive end who's like not that good, like you can be replaced like that. And so I think if you're not that good, teams probably won't have like the patience to put up with you and just get rid of you, right? And then you're probably less likely to kind of speak out because like your career is short, you're replaceable, so you're like, screw this, I don't want to get fined. And it's crazy because like if you think about it, like Todd Gurley, right? He's one of the best running backs in the whole league, right? He had like the most combined touchdowns out of everybody, and then the Rams cut him. He had a whatever year in Atlanta, and now he doesn't even have a team. So I think like depends on the sport, your position, and like how long your career would realistically be. I think
it should be that way, right? Because and then NFL, I just thought about this. You play every week. Like it's that 1 week that matters, and if you suck, you suck, and if you do, you're right. So yeah, but why does that have to be that way? Why you're all athletes, you're all professional athletes. You should be able to speak on the different things you want to.
Yeah. Chad Ochocinco and the NFL retired NFL players, they were also talking about this and the difference between the NFL and the NBA. NBA, right? Spot number 1 to 10, it's almost guaranteed money because you're going to play the rest of the season, and even if you get injured, you're still, because of your contract and the way it's structured, you're guaranteed to get paid out whatever you signed it for. The last 2 to maybe 4 spots on the bench and roster, those are supposed to be flexible in case they need to drop them and they want to pick up another center or small forward, for example. With the NFL, you don't have millions guaranteed on your contracts. The only time you get money is when you show up when you need to show up, and then you play that day, or you show up on game day. If you don't show up any of the days you promise you're going to show up because there's less like activities, like you said, it's a weekly thing, they dock that from your pay for the year, right? And remember, only the main guys, so the quarterbacks, the star wide receivers, the star running backs, it depends on where you want to put your money at. Those are the only people guaranteed to have that set amount of money. And that's why most of the time you'll have quarterbacks that speak out, or wide receivers that are superstars finally be able to speak out. Because one of the first things they think about, right, is I got to secure myself, secure my family, and then I can begin to say what I need to say. But I don't think that a lot of players have that leeway until they know they have that 5-year max contract, max guarantee. Make sure if I get injured or, because technically you're using my body and for your entertainment to get paid pretty much. And the 40 to 50 million dollars is like a fraction of what the organization actually makes as a whole. And Chad Ochocinco and Brandon Marshall were kind of going over that. And an example they brought up was Colin Kaepernick, right? So as a rookie, he played, above average. Second year, he played, pretty good. Like, I think he made the Pro Bowl that year. But I think the third year is when the rookie contract expires. And at that time, he came on the media, said exactly what he wanted, exactly what the organization wanted to hear. But when he got that max contract, that's when you started learning about his fight for social injustice and equity and police brutality. And they were like, "Yo, where did this come from?" It came from his crazy ass girlfriend. Like, that couldn't have been further from the truth, because he actually got that. He was already doing that and taking all these studies and classes and continued his education even as a rookie, but it just never came to light until he got that guaranteed money where he could finally do that. So I think that does definitely play a huge factor. Like, I need to secure myself. I need to secure the people around me, because that's pretty important, right? Isn't that what you guys want to do?
Oh, for sure. And it's interesting. An NFL example, right? It's like, in baseball, basketball, you have like guaranteed contracts and stuff. Yeah, but football is really dicey, right? Like, like the contract can have this big number attached to it, but then you have to look at the other number, which is how much of that is actually guaranteed, right? Because there's like the performance bonuses, health bonuses, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. I had a debate about this. I forgot who it was, but it was a Denver Broncos player, right? It was during the off season, like a few months ago, right? I think he was either promised a big contract or he was in the middle of a big contract, right? And while he was training, he tore his Achilles, right? Yeah. And then he was out for the whole season, right? And then the Broncos, I think they actually negated his contract, I think, right? And so there's a big uproar about it because he got injured trying to train for the season, right? So why would you cut him, when he's just trying to like do his job? And their reasoning was because he didn't do a supervised workout, right? Because he worked out on his own and not at a team facility with like team trainers and stuff like that, right? And so there's gigantic uproar, right? Because like morally, it's like, dude, the guy was working out so he can get ready for the season so he can perform for you. And as a return, like, you just cut him, right? Yeah, like, contractually and technically you don't have to pay him because it was out of bounds of the rules, but morally feels like you probably should, right? You guys recognize this story?
Yeah.
That's familiar.
Yeah. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that.
I think it goes back to the organization, like what we first talked about when we hit the record button, is that what kind of company culture is it, right? It's almost like the regular work world, or at least the corporate world. Like, do I want to be part of this organization? Are they going to show me at least that they care about how things are run and how they're going to treat me? And for the longest time, a lot of organizations on the West Coast, the Rams before they came to LA, the Niners before they had a change in culture into this like competitive team, they didn't care about their players. And I think the Lakers, for right around Kobe's retirement, they had a hard time adjusting and creating a place where people wanted to play. Like, they just had the history, they had the city, and they're like, "Yo, come play for us." Like, we have these two things. And and a lot of organizations try to do that, and they try to milk their history and milk these things to try to bring in superstars. But if the culture isn't there and you're not treating them right, like, do you want to be part of that? That's definitely something that I personally would weigh. And I think a lot of athletes also do that.